Welcome back to the Kaspa Silver YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be recapping Kaspa making history. It has finally accomplished 10 blocks per second on testnet, and it's actually been very successful. If you guys are new around here, please consider leaving a like on the video after watching and also subscribing to the channel. If you have not seen the interview that I had with Shai, go ahead and check that out. It's been a really great interview and a lot of people really enjoy it. So if you haven't seen that yet, go ahead and check that out. So let's get into it. So yesterday, Kaspa 10 blocks per second report. For the first time ever, a pure proof of work protocol has been carrying thousands of transactions per second across dozens, maybe hundreds of network nodes in a permissionless network running on affordable hardware. We can also see here that after a few hours of testing, Shai said here the CAS 10 blocks per second testnet has been running smoothly for over 2 hours now. Even though we don't stress low transactions yet, some naughty participant decided to generate some anyway, whereby we are already witnessing more than 2,000 transactions per second. For the first time ever, a pure proof of work protocol has been carrying thousands of transactions per second across dozens, maybe hundreds of network nodes in a permissionless network running on affordable hardware. This history in the making, and we are just getting started. And this is just actually like super amazing. You know, I've been saying it for the longest. Kaspa is an unfinished project, and the things that Kaspa is gonna set out to do, you know, we're not even fully aware of what's actually gonna be going on later down the road once everything is complete, and the possibilities are endless. But of course, you know, these developments are just very, very new, and they're going to take time. You're going to have a ton of patience. Wolfie over here saying that a 9-year-old 4970K machine running CAS Rust testnet 11 10 blocks per second, which is actually very, very good because it just shows that the hardware is not going to be that much of a big deal to actually support the Kaspa network, which means that's going to be super good for decentralization. So naturally, a lot of CAS folks ask me when 10 blocks per second mainnet. And of course, that is going to be the common question now because 10 blocks per second is not on mainnet. It is only on testnet to just do testing for the time being. So he goes into detail here. So I'm going to read this for you guys because some of you guys probably don't have Twitter or not really on Twitter like that. So I'm going to just read it out. So it says, here is roughly how it will probably go down. So the 10 blocks per second client is running on a special testnet called testnet 11. This testnet is a playing field where we try things out and see how they work. This is opposed to testnet 10, which always runs either the same protocol as mainnet or a hard fork candidate. There are still some loose ends we need to tie up before the 10 blocks per second client could be a candidate. All sorts of minor but crucial issues we need to resolve. We will also want to experiment with different block sizes and see how the network adjusts. Once we have a candidate for a hard fork, we will stress test it for at least a few weeks on testnet 11 to closely monitor how stable it is over long periods of time. We will also test how it responds to extreme environment conditions such as changing network conditions, extreme hash rate spikes/dips, very high transaction loads, etc. After this is done and there is a candidate, it would be moved to testnet 10 for at least a few more weeks. This has mainly two reasons. One, testnet 10 is much larger, and two, it would provide time for the ecosphere, exchanges, explorers, wallets, pools, etc. to prepare and adjust. In particular, we will not schedule a hard fork before being given a green light from the main constituents of the ecosphere. Even after we decide a hard fork is due, it would be scheduled into the future. The new client would operate according to the old rules up to a point, and then switch to the new rules. This switch is highly tricky and should be tested several times on testnet 10 before it is applied to the mainnet. Such changes should be done very carefully to minimize risk that something important breaks after the fork. This requires testing, dry runs, and coordination of several teams. We are very deep into uncharted territory, so patience is key. And this is the biggest thing about this. You know, we have now entered uncharted territory for Kaspa because we are doing things that have not ever been seen in the space. And this is just really, really good for Kaspa that they're actually doing developments. Things are actually going on. They're a project that's not just doing nothing. They're over here and they're putting work in. And, you know, the patience is going to pay off in the long run, I believe. So we're also going to be expecting mainnet launch to possibly be in 6 months. But again, just remember, guys, this is a estimate, and he's saying at least 6 months. It could be more than 6 months before we actually see this on the mainnet. So just remember, guys, to really have that patience. I want to show you this tweet over here. It says 10 blocks per second on Kaspa means it edges closer to fulfilling what Bitcoin originally set out to do, and that was electronic stateless money. At 10 BPS, Kaspa becomes even more scalable. Hard to believe considering transactions are already instant at 1 blocks per second. 10 blocks per second is mind-blowing, basically. And if we go down below here, we have here, I was thinking, does CAS really need 100 blocks per second? Won't 32 blocks per second be sufficient for global scale? Maybe. And then he added all these developers from Kaspa to maybe answer this, and Shai went ahead and answered this and said, I'm currently of the opinion that 10 blocks per second is more than enough. If we want to increase throughput, we can do that much more easily by increasing block sizes. There might be other benefits to even faster block rates in terms of MEV resistance, but before we have a concrete reason, I don't see any motivation to go beyond 10 blocks per second. Remember that hardware requirements for running a node increases quadratically with BPS. I would like to see 32 blocks per second on testnet at some point, just to see how it works and establish that 10 blocks per second is a choice and not a limitation. But I think that once we stabilize 10 blocks per second on mainnet, we can divert attention to improving other aspects of Kaspa and keep higher blocks per second as a possibility should we ever need it. And that's pretty crazy that after this testing and everything, people are, Shai is realizing that 10 blocks per second just already be enough to what Kaspa was trying to achieve, because the network is just so powerful. And I really feel like they're really unaware of what GhostDAG can actually already do. And so since this is all, first time testing, 10 blocks per second may just be what we need. And then they're going to test 32 blocks per second and make sure that, hey, we could show people that this does work, but we don't really need it right now. We're going to just stick to 10 for now. But, the goal is always to possibly get to 100 blocks per second. But the fact that 10 blocks per second is already good, that just shows the power of the technology behind Kaspa. So yesterday was a great day for Kaspa, and it's awesome to finally see 10 blocks per second actually being successful and being put to the practice. And hopefully very soon we're going to be able to see it on the mainnet launch of the network, so that we can actually prove that Kaspa is going to be the fastest layer 1 proof of work in the whole entire world. If you guys are interested in supporting the channel and helping me grow and actually keeping me consistent, you can consider joining my Patreon, where you get access to the private Discord, all my YouTube videos before they go live, and also free weekly giveaways for Kaspa. If you're interested in supporting the channel, you can click the link down below in the description, and that'll take you to my Patreon. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little video, and as always, don't be average, be different.